All right, good morning, guys. What is going on? We're back again for another video here. Not out on Lake Okeechobee like you guys would probably like to see, but I can tell you I've been out there for the last 5 days leading up to this video. So I worked the first 4 days, had 4 days worth of trips. It was great, fun, had a bunch of great people. And then yesterday I was off, but just decided to put the boat in the water, go burn some fuel, do a lot of scouting, do a lot of running around, and do some fishing and filming, which I did get some footage, which you guys will eventually see, and we'll get into that in a minute. As far as the lake, here's the deal, guys. The lake's in a lot of trouble. The fishing's fine. The fish are fine. I caught fish. I made probably 12 or 15 stops yesterday, and I caught fish at every single stop, doing multiple different things. Beautiful, healthy fish. They're actually spawning right now. But as far as the long term of the lake, if they do not let the water out of this lake soon, we're in trouble. I mean, if we get at the lake level right now, if we get 2 or 3 bad cold fronts, which what I just was informed we have a bad cold front heading our way. I don't know if it's going to make it here, but if we get a severe cold front with those 35-mile-an-hour gusts, I'm going to go out and say it now, we're not going to have a south end on Lake Okeechobee in the next year. Saw a lot of things that, worried me out on Lake Okeechobee yesterday. At the end of the day, the fish they're gonna adapt, they're gonna survive. They've done it for millions of years out here. But all of those areas and all those grasses and the cover that we love to fish so much down here on Lake Okeechobee is not going to be here. They need to drop this lake. I know why they're not, because politics and money are involved, but it's really sad. And for all of you that say you like the lake high, don't get me wrong. It is nice to be able to venture off into new areas. It's very nice to be able to spread out and not fish on top of each other in areas. It's very nice to be able to crank your motor up and run across the lake and not worry about ripping your lower unit off. That's all great. But those are all selfish reasons that all of us as anglers and people look at high water, look at why high water is good. For the longevity and the health of the lake, this lake needs to be lower. And like I said, it doesn't need to be at 13 or 12 foot all year. A 15-foot lake in the wintertime, I like it. 15 and a half even. I mean, I do like it. I think it's great because for unselfish reasons, it gives more water in the back marshes for these fish to get into and spawn and be protected from, big water, big waves, dirty water rolling in from the main lake. But there is a massive difference between a 15 and a half foot lake to a 16 and 3/4 foot lake. When your power poles aren't holding you on the bottom on Lake Okeechobee when you're fishing in the grass, that's a problem. And when you get a 6-7 mile an hour breeze and that breeze turns into rollers in the spawning flats, it's not good. A lot of grass is dying, and they need to let this water out. But enough on that. The fishing is good. I caught a ton of fish yesterday. They're like I said, they're on beds, and so I did film yesterday. I don't know if I'm repeating myself, but I am practicing for the Roland Martin Marine Series 2-day championship coming up. So that's why you're not seeing my practice days. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet. If I'm going to compile all of my practice footage into one long video, or if I'm going to post each practice day as its own video, you guys will see soon enough. But I kind of do a cool segment. I haven't even looked at the footage to see how it came out, but there's a really good little segment of footage in there that describes exactly what we mean and how we do it when we say we blind fish on beds down here. So be on the look for that whenever it comes out. I'm obviously not going to post it probably till tournament day or after, so I don't give anything away. Not that I'm on anything special, but I don't want to give somebody a tip that's a much better fisherman than me that knows where some fish are to go into my area and catch them. So all the fish were healthy, fat, and I caught a bunch of them. So that's kind of how it's been throughout the whole week. Catching a lot of fish. Finding those big females is difficult, but they are around. And, I caught a couple of females yesterday, and we had a chance at a couple big fish during the week guiding, but been running into some decent numbers. So that's that. But the purpose of today's video is there's a few new products out there that I've got my hands on that I truly believe are helping me catch some more fish out here on Lake Okeechobee somewhat. And they're just, maybe they're not new products to the industry. Maybe I just started recently using them. Maybe they are new products. Maybe they're products that I've had my hands on for a while, was using, kind of got out of using them, and now using them again, and I've noticed a difference. So I got a couple of different things I'm going to go over. And yeah, you guys can be sure to check them out, or let me know if you have any questions. So the first thing we're going to go over, some of them are baits, they're just products, what have you. So we're just going to start with this. This is a Berkley Bullet Pop 80. Okay, it's just essentially, it's a giant popper. It's not even giant, it's just a decent sized popper. So the reason I picked these up was because everyone knows, so most of you know I am not a topwater guy. Besides that big Zara spook I throw anymore, I'm not I don't go out there looking for a topwater bite. But one thing that is a big staple out here for me and just for all the other anglers is the big popping frog, right? I say it all the time. This is probably the best big fish bait on Lake Okeechobee. And I truly believe that. So I'm not, that is a bait I do throw often, but I don't consider that topwater, even though it is. So I wanted a bait that replicated that, but was a little bit more scaled back for a couple of reasons. So I've said it many, many times. The main time we throw this popping frog is when these fish are in bluegill mode. So you get into the spring and summer months when you have a lot of brim, up shallow, and bedding. And you have those big rogue fish that are just kind of hanging back from going offshore and schooling with the others, and they hang back and they just want to target brim. And they're in that mode where they're feeding on them. Well, and this popping frog style bait does a great job at giving a brim profile. Well, there's also times where these fish, where maybe the conditions set up for a bite like that, but the fish aren't keyed in on brim. Like right now, we're in early December, but it's 90 degrees outside. The water temperature is just hovering around 80 degrees. And yeah, I mean, it's cloudy, light wind. It's actually much less windy today than it was yesterday. I should have fished today. But perfect conditions to throw the frog. But there's times where I think that just might be a little bit too, not loud, but just too bulky of a presentation. So I wanted something along those lines, but just kind of scaled back. So I fell with this big popper. Now, this is the Berkley popper, but I guarantee you there's like Mega Bass and a bunch of other people that make them. But I am a big fan of this one. Comes in this I think this is ghost gill or something. It's a bluegill pattern, just like the killer gill popping frogs we like to throw. And what I do is I take those stock hooks off and I go up 2 hook sizes. You can see the size of these giant treble hooks on here. A couple reasons I do that. One, hopefully I'm fishing and catching big fish. But 2, everyone knows the horror of hooking a giant bass on a small popper or a devil's horse in and around grass. You got to put some heat on them to get them out of the grass, but you don't want to put too much heat on them that you pull those baby treble hooks out. But these are like, I think they might be 1/0 trebs. They're big. You could put a good amount of heat on them. I fish it on 50-pound braid with a 7'2" medium heavy rod with some pretty heavy drag because the gaps on these trebs are fairly large and you can pull on them pretty good. So you can put the heat on them. And what that does is A, it keeps them out of the grass, right? Hopefully. And B, with having that much that line that tight and that much pressure, any grass they're running through, that braid's going to cut the grass. So it's nice to be able to kind of scale back a little bit on your presentation, but not too much on your tackle. Caught a lot of fish on this, and I have had some really big fish eat these and caught them on guide trips. And I don't think I've weighed any in on any tournaments lately, but it has gotten me a lot of bites. So it gives that big bloop, that big popping noise that draws those big fish in. But when they look up at it, this is a lot smaller and just not as bulky of a profile as this. You get what I mean? The other cool thing about it is if I'm fishing an area where a lot of people are throwing the popping frog, which that happens a lot. You get a lot of people flipping a jig or throwing a frog, and everyone's kind of integrating with each other in and around. This is scaled back enough to where maybe it'll get you an extra 2 bites just because it's something just a little bit different. Same noise, same kind of presentation, but just not as big of a profile. The other cool thing about this is I get a lot of people on my boat that just love to throw topwater. And I've had people just throwing these things around lately, just in and around fish that are even relating to shad and catching a lot of fish. So I'm not selling the Berkeley popper. I'm just telling you this is the one that I liked, and it walks really nice too if you want to walk it. But any big popper, try it. I go up on the hooks because, you know, that's the other thing you need. You need a place that's open enough to be able to throw a treble hook bait. So sometimes you can't get away from the frog. But if you could find that right area, definitely give a big popper a try. Next, we'll just go with the swim jig. So arc fishing, or whatever, arc rods. You guys know I'm a big fan of the arc rods. I am on like their kind of pro team deal, I guess. I don't know. I don't even remember what my discount is, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, I really just, if I want a new rod, I just go see Mike at Fishing Headquarters and just buy it from him. But so I'm not, I don't, but I'll be honest, I don't have a biased opinion towards arc. There's going to be a couple of arc products in this video, but it's just because I am a fan of theirs. Louis over there, he's a mad genius. He doesn't, I mean, he's very good at what he does. He's a very smart guy, and he takes a lot of pride in his products, which I like. And this swim jig is no different. I remember when he was talking to Breezy about coming out with a swim jig, and he was picking her brain about it because that's what she likes to do. And at iCast, I believe he released these, and I finally got my hands on a few, and he delivered, man. These things are awesome. So a couple cool things about the swim jig. These are obviously arc swim jigs here. I bought 2 of them at Fishing Headquarters just to give them a shot, because the first thing I look at on a swim jig when we're fishing Lake Okeechobee is the hook, right? You guys are a little far away, but when you first look at this hook, it's not the thick gauge like the Dirty Jigs No Jack swim jig that I typically throw. It's a lot smaller gauge, but it's made out of a different material. I'm going to say it's titanium or something, but I'm really not sure. But I put it through the ringer. I fished it just as I did all my other swim jigs, and I have not opened this hook up. It's very strong. It's a little bit thinner gauge, which is going to obviously help you penetrate easier and get the hook in more fish, but I haven't had it flex or play at all. This is like a black and blue purple. I don't even know what color this one is, and you can see that, I mean, from what you guys can see, not many skirts left or any strands left. This thing has been eaten up. They ate the fire out of this thing. The finish on the heads is great. You know, I'll try to maybe integrate some close-ups for this swim jig here in the video, but they look awesome. I mean, they catch your eye right out of the pack, but there's a lot of products out there that catch more fishermen than fish. The big thing on Lake Okeechobee, head design. That's why that Dirty Jigs No Jack swim jig is as popular as it is. That thing comes through grass with ease. There's a lot of other swim jigs that are close, but nothing, you know, like that over the past few years has come out. These do just as good of a job. They got that flat head on the bottom, so I believe it helps just kind of skim over the grass a little bit. It skips really nice. Not that we skip on Lake Okeechobee, but it's a good all-around swim jig. And the reason I'm saying that is we don't run into it very much here, but there are some times where we do. But if you're someone who travels a lot, what's nice about this swim jig is everyone knows if you throw swim jig on fluorocarbon, you want a different hook than what's one you would throw on braid. If you're throwing it on fluorocarbon, you'd like a thinner gauge hook. This hook is right in the middle of the road to where it won't open up with braid, but this is a bait I would throw on 20-pound fluorocarbon if I need to, which is super cool. They come in all types of different colors. Like this one's called New Penny. It's got like that copper head, which I just thought was cool. Again, it caught me out of the package. And they ate the fire out of this thing over the past couple of weeks also. I really put these things through the ringer. I mean, I didn't want to just talk to you guys about products and then not work. So I fished them. My customers caught fish on them. They're great. Weed guard's great. The finish, the paint's not chipping off and all that. So if you guys, you know, were stuck in your ways like I am and don't like change and we're curious about the arc swim jigs, I give them, you know, 5 stars. They work great. The fish have been eating them. They got super cool colors too. Very unique skirt colors, and the skirt material is high quality. Definitely check them out. The line tie is in the perfect spot. You're not getting hung. Really good bait. So definitely check those out. Fishing Headquarters. Go see Mike, and he's got a whole wall of them. I'm probably going to be going there tomorrow. Next bait. This is one that I really had to think outside the box on. And here's the thing. Ever since I've been guiding, and all the other guides will tell you, and all the tournament guys will tell you, all you guides should be on them because you guys get to shiner fish all week before tournaments and find out where these fish are. That is true. But I'm here to tell you, you could find one reed head and throw 10 dozen shiners on it and catch a fish on every one of them and go back there tournament day, throwing a spook, flipping in there, throwing a worm on the outside, and you're lucky if you get a bite or two. Shiner fish you cannot catch on artificial, and artificial fish you cannot catch on shiners. And it sounds stupid, but I'm telling you, coming from someone who does it for a living. But I got sick and tired of finding good mat lines or good hard lines with those shiners on, and then going there and just fun fishing, trying to flip an ounce and a half in the mat and catch them. That's why the spook became a thing for me. I bought those big gold spooks to imitate the big shiners I was throwing up against those hard lines, thinking I can go there when the wind's blowing on that hard line, throw a spook, and just twitch it into the hard line and out. Make it look like a dead or dying shiner like I do during the week and try to get those fish to bite. And it did work to some success. I would catch some fish, but not as well as I thought it would work. But that's what made me pick the spook up. I'm like I said, I'm not a big topwater guy, but you guys have seen over my last few tournaments that big spook has played a role in weighing in a fish in almost every one of them. So that's what made me pick that up. Well, it didn't work too great. It works, obviously, but I ran into, like I said, I find these shiner fish, and I want to be able to go back and catch them. I did a video on this a while ago, but this is a bait called the No Live Bait Needed Lil Mullet. So I said I'm a big snook guy, and a bunch of the guys I grew up snook fishing with started their own bait company, and they make some awesome stuff. So what this is basically just a badass looking fluke. That's all this is. But they call it the little mullet. It looks like a little finger mullet, and this is in a kind of a funky color, but they make a few different colors. Nowhere around Lake Okeechobee is going to have these. I should talk to Mike about carrying them, and I might when I go in there. But any tackle shops on the coasts, east or west coast, that hold snook tackle have them. Or you can go to their website, No Live Bait Needed, and it'll pop up. This is the 5.5 inch. They're just getting ready to release a 3 inch, and then they're coming out with an 8 inch bait, an 8 inch big mullet, which that's really going to help. But what I did was, I haven't been lighting the world on fire. That's not what I'm saying with this. But I have been catching some nice fish on this over the past month or two. Couple things I've been doing with it. I fish it on a 7/0 wide gap hook, screw lock hook, and I've been throwing it on 20-pound fluorocarbon. Couple scenarios I've thrown it on braid. But what I do is if I'm fishing a hard line or something, I just fish it like a fluke. Just throwing it up to that hard line, letting it, hit. I'll pop it a few times off of the mat or whatnot, make it zigzag, and just kind of let it flutter down. The thing about a lot of these hard lines and things that I'm fishing in the back of the lake, that water is very tannic and very clear. It's very clean black water, so the fish can get a really good look at it. Hence why the fluorocarbon's helping, and that's why this bait works so well, because it is so detailed and it looks so lifelike. So they get a good look at it, but they have no problem eating it. Also, if I'm fishing dollar pads or needle grass, where I would typically throw a big easy, an easy vibe or something, if those fish are pressured, as you notice, this bait does not have a paddle tail. It's just a straight tail bait. But on top of that, they are coming out with a paddle tail here soon with this bait, which will be deadly. But it's really nice that you could throw this bait out, hold the rod tip up, and just reel it along. And contrary to what you think, that tail is going to move slightly in some way. Not very much, though. But it just pushes a nice, steady, subtle head weight coming across the top. And if you're in an area that's highly pressured, sometimes that'll get you a few extra bites because these fish don't really want buzzing baits buzzing over their head. So definitely check these out if you're around schooling fish and you've thrown a trap at them, a spinnerbait, a chatterbait, a worm, a spook, and then they start turning off of it. I caught bass on this summer as well, just throwing it out there and working it like a fluke. At the end, whether it's a shiner, a shad, they're not going to care. It just looks like a bait fish. But when it comes down to it, we have big schools of mullet in Lake Okeechobee that these bass feed on. So this is not outside the realm of what they see. I've caught many bass either feeding on mullet or having them spit mullet up in my boat. So this is a really cool bait. Check that out. I did the popper. I get asked on this all the time. Do you add scents to your baits? Is that something you believe in? Here's what I tell people. It doesn't hurt. I've ran into scenarios where it has made a difference, I believe, and I've ran into it where 9 times out of 10, I don't think it does matter. But there are certain times where I believe it does work, and it does make a difference. This is a product called Strike Force. We've been using this out here for probably 6 years now. Roland Martin's Marina started carrying it. Mike at Fishing Headquarters has it. The guy who makes it just does it in his off time, and he's a super cool guy. But we've been using this one. Now, I know there's many, many scents on the market, and I believe they all work. I'm not just favoring this one. This is the one I buy because I have confidence in it, but I'm sure they all work. I know that bait fuel one, those guys are spending billions in advertisement because everyone's using it. That's not what this is. That's not why I'm doing it. There's a couple things I like this for, or just scents in general. I believe if I'm fishing a pressured area, again, any little thing you could do to give you a slight advantage, I'm going to do it. So this I like doing that with. If I'm fishing dirty water, when I'm flipping a big jig, a lot of times I'll spray my jig down with it. And does it make a difference? I don't know, but it gives me more confidence sometimes, especially when fishing that dirty water, to help them find it. So if it gives you confidence, do it. The other cool thing, I don't think I've ever smelled anything as potent as this. I mean, you spray it on that jig and 25 flips later, you pull that when your jig's coming back at you to reflip, you smell that wave of scent coming at you. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I can't tell you. Another thing I tell people it might do, if it gets you one extra bite a day, it's worth it, because who's to say that one bite's not a 10-pounder? There might be a lot of fish, and going back to live scope and talking to all my customers from around the country that fish live scope religiously on deep water lakes, and that I've seen it on Lake Okeechobee when I take customers' boats that have it. The amount of fish that come up to your bait and don't eat it would really surprise a lot of you. I think I truly believe this. I think it's 50%. I think if you go out on Lake Okeechobee and you catch 25 fish, I think you had another 25 fish in that area come up to your bait and think about eating it and not commit. I really believe that. And if sometimes I think, like, when this jig or just any type of bait that you spray down with this is falling and those fish come up and just think about it, that wave of scent or whatever might convince them to eat it. On top of that, there's a lot of other videos out there, like Tactical Bassin has done, where bass, they'll show underwater footage of bass sucking a bait in and spitting it out and just leaving it. They want nothing to do with it. And then when it comes to flipping, when you're flipping that bait and letting it free fall on a slack line, I wonder how many bites we get that they suck it in, spit it out, and we never even know that we had a bite. Sometimes this will give me confidence that I think it'll make them hold on to the bait a little longer. There's no way to prove it, but if it gives you confidence, it's worth it. What's cool about this product, and it could be true for the other ones, I don't know, but I don't believe it's water-based. So you could spray it in your pack of baits, move the baits around, and you can leave them for forever, and they're not going to swell up and get spongy on you. So that's pretty cool. And the last thing, if you're flipping mats, and you're flipping real junky, blown-in mats with a lot of crap in it to catch them, to catch your bait, especially if you're new to flipping mats. Spraying your bait down, your rig down with this, it acts as a lubricant, and it'll help your bait fall through the mat much easier. That's something people don't think of, but it does make a big difference with that. So Strike Force, this is the one I use, but if you're a big fan of that bait fuel stuff or Bang, there's all kinds of them out there. But this one's the one I've been using for a couple years now. And I get into habits of using it and not using it. But recently I've been using that when flipping a Senko around. And I think it got me a few extra bites. Okay, we got 2 things left. This is going much longer than I thought. Breezy's going to kill me when she looks on her security cameras and I'm not hanging Christmas lights. So we're going to speed it up here. All right. Another ARC product for you. We're actually going to talk about two, but anyway. So ARC launched these fishing reels at ICAST. This is the G5. I believe they came out with a G3, a G5, and a G7. I believe the G3 retails for $149. The G5, which I'm holding in my hand, retails for $179. And the G7 is $239, something like that. I was very, very skeptical about the reels because let's face it, guys, there's at the end of, you got the same 5 reel manufacturers, the big 5, whatever it is. You got Abu Garcia, Shimano, Luz, I guess Quantum, Daiwa, right? You got the same reel companies, and then you got all these reel companies that try to come out underneath them, and their reels are crap, right? They're clam pack reels that just don't hold up, and that's what I thought this was going to be, especially when I picked it up. I think I confused lightweight with feeling cheap with this. I picked it up at ICAST. It palmed great, but just the quality didn't feel there to me, and I'm not sure why. Well, I got my hands on one, and full disclosure, I was asked to review this reel by Mike Krause of Fishing Headquarters. He said, "Take this and fish with it." He gave it the stamp of approval, and he's not afraid to tell somebody that their product is junk. I think that's why anybody who doesn't like Mike Krause was probably because you asked him a question and he gave you the right answer and you didn't want to hear it. He's very straightforward, and he told me, he said, "Cody, you will." I'm telling you, it's a great reel. And it is. It is. He told me to review this one. It's the middle of the road one. Couple things with the ARC reels. Their claim to fame, their selling point, their patent pending deal is the braking system in this reel. How effortlessly this thing casts is crazy. Michael, if you go to Mike's shop, he will take one spool of 14-pound fluorocarbon on a 7-foot rod with a fluke, and you could just barely give it a flick of the wrist, and it will sail across the parking lot. I mean, they do throw great. Their braking system is unlike anything I've ever seen in a reel. So any of you that maybe like to finesse fish, throw light lines with light baits, or maybe you have a bad shoulder, a bad arm, and you guys see how I cast. I put my whole body into a cast every time, even when I don't need to. That's going to come back to haunt me in the next few years, I'm sure. But anybody who maybe is, you have arm trouble or whatever, 5 out of 5 stars with this. How easy and effortlessly it casts. And that's cool and that's great. But what I look for in a reel are, one, how comfortable it is. And that sounds stupid, but when I'm flipping, I want something that palms very easy. Even if I'm working a spook or hopping a swim jig, if your reel, and it's going to change for everybody, but if your reel is clunky in your hand and not comfortable, it doesn't palm right, you're going to get fatigued very bad. That was something I was curious about with this, and it passed it great. It's super comfortable in your hand to hold, on top of it being lightweight, which is awesome. But the biggest thing was how well this thing was going to hold up to being locked down as tight as it would go with 65-pound braid and fishing on Lake Okeechobee. I talked to Randall Tharp about it at ICAST. He said, "Hammer, I'm telling you what, it holds up, Hammer. It works good." But I wanted to see it for myself. And he was right. I should have known he was right because he catches way bigger bass than me. But he was right. I threw this on my swim jig rod. It worked great. It held up. And then I put it on my punch rod for the past 45 days. And with the water being up, I have been flipping a lot of mats out here. I've had the drag hammered down. This is 65-pound Suffolk Performance braid. This is an 1.5 ounce weight and a 5/0 hack attack hook. And I have been wrenching on them with this thing, trying to break it. And guys, I'm not just saying this to say it. It feels like it came out of the package. It feels great. It's nothing's torqued. Doesn't sound like sand in the reel once you catch a few on braid on cheaper reels and things. It's still super smooth. The free spool is great. It feels like it came out of the pack. It might be a little rashed up because I'm fishing out of a flats boat and there's no carpet and my rods just bang around. And I'm rough on my equipment, but this thing, it held up. It's got kind of small handles on it, which a lot of you might like. I was kind of concerned about them, but at the end, I haven't ran into any issues with it. I really like them. I'm going to be ordering a few more just because they fit my hands great. There's really, so if anybody was curious, about the Arc fishing reels, give them a shot. I've had customers buy them from Mike at Fishing Headquarters, and they love them. I think Tackle Warehouse got their hands on like 4 of them, 4 of each. Mike has 40 of each. So go see Mike at Fishing Headquarters, and yeah, especially like I said, if you're into finesse fishing, lightweight stuff, throwing a trick worm, throwing a little top water, these are great. I'm going to talk about this rod real quick. I've already talked about it in my videos. This is that same 711 Essence, 711 Heavy. The Essence, Arc Essence 711 Heavy. I can't talk this morning. Guys, I have literally fallen in love with this rod. I know I did like a punching video months back on this rod to talk about how great it was when it came out. I fall more in love with this rod every day I use it. It's everything I want in a flipping rod, and what's cool is it's a 711 that flips like a 7.6. I don't know how to explain that to you, but you guys know if you flip a 711 all day, you just feel like you used a 8-foot rod all day. You don't with this. It's perfectly balanced. The tip on it is, I mean, I can go on and on about this thing. And this isn't because I'm on with Arc and all that. I'm telling you, I flipped this rod with 1.5 ounces, and you guys see in my videos, this is 1.5 ounces tungsten. I flipped a 2 ounce on it the other day. It can handle it, and it balanced and flips it perfect. I use it flipping a 3/4 for just my light pitching, which is what my most popular or most commonly used Texas rig when flipping on Okeechobee. I use it for flipping this jig. This is the jig I caught that, or me and Breezy caught that 27 pounds on in that last video or that last tournament we won, and it was on this exact rod. It flips a jig, it flips the big weight, and it flips a 3/4, flips 1.25 ounces, obviously perfect. So it's a one-stop shop flipping stick, which is something I've never thought I'd find. It's super comfortable. It's lightweight. I haven't broken one. I haven't had any issues with the rod. The reel seat is awesome. It's got the Fuji guides on there, and it's got this metal reel seat screw lock, whatever they call the foregrip little screw lock thing here, which is nice, but it's small enough that your finger can touch the blank, which I'm a big fan of. I'm getting ready to order a couple new ones just because I'm so rough on my stuff, but you can see, I mean, I was flipping with this thing yesterday. It works great. They make a 7.6, okay? So if you're not familiar with a 711, or maybe you just think that might be a little too long for you, they make a 7.6, which is what Breezy flips with, and it works great. This 711 is the deal. I love this thing. All right, so that's that. Last product. Then I got to go hang Christmas lights before Breezy crucifies me. Sunglasses. This is something I am very, very picky about. You guys never see me outside, let alone on the lake. I mean, I'm never outside in any of my videos without sunglasses on my face. I've been a big Costa Del Mar guy. I fished with the Arc ones. I fished with the new, I can't pronounce, Bajios, whatever they're called, Oakley. I fished with them all, and they're all great. I'm not downing them at all. They all, obviously, they work awesome. But I was Waterland messaged me about 2 months ago and asked if I'd be interested in working with them. I said yes, just because I'll be honest with you guys, who doesn't want a free pair of sunglasses? And these two pairs were given to me. Full disclosure. I took them. I've been wearing them now for a month. These things are badass for a couple reasons. One, they're extremely lightweight, but they're lightweight but don't feel cheap. You grab them and they don't feel like you pulled them off the rack at the 7-Eleven on the beach for $9.99. They're light. They're extremely comfortable on your face. And here's the thing. They've got this. So they're lighter than most glasses I've worn, which I'm a fan of. They're very comfortable. They fit my face great, and they have a couple of different styles. The big thing is these lenses. What was his name? The representative I was talking to, they come out, they have a blue lens, and they have these green. I don't know the exact name of the color lens this is. But if you guys have seen in all my videos, I'm a gray lens guy, gray or black. That's what I've worn my whole life. These things make a huge difference. I was out the other day and just like looking at the stain of the water, I almost said that the water was a little too dirty to fish. And then I actually put my glasses on and I could see down another 3 inches and see my white swim jig down there, which told me this water is plenty fishable. And I almost left fishable water, if that makes sense. They are mirrored, so they do a great job of blocking the sun and everything. I'm not squinting as bad. And the cool thing is that our mirrored lens, and they do a really good job of cutting the glare. And these are only, I think they retail for $139, whereas a lot of the competitors, I believe, with this class of lens and everything, retail for like $189. So you're already saving, $50 off of, and they're a great pair of sunglasses. I haven't talked about them over the past month and a half because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't promoting junk. They're great. I mean, obviously you see all the guys that are wearing them. Stale Cracker wears them, so I should have just already known they were good because he's the man. That guy Mimicking obviously catches 16-pounders every day. He's wearing them. They're great. I give them full approval. They're awesome. Definitely check them out. And if you guys wanted to save 15% on them, I have a code they sent me. It's just tight splice in, I guess, the coupon box or something. And like I said, they're already $139. So you're saving from like Costa Del Mar's and stuff. You're already saving $50 on top of what you would typically spend on a good pair of sunglasses. Good sunglasses down here, especially fishing in Florida, they're a must. I remember my brother, who is no longer with us, my brother Jeff, gave me my first pair of good Polaroid sunglasses when I was like 14 to go fish a bass tournament with. And I can't go outside without them ever since that day. So I take my sunglasses very seriously. I'm very picky with them, and these have exceeded my expectations for them. They did a really good job. So if you guys want to check them out, I highly recommend this lens color. Some of you might do both fresh and salt water, so you might want the blue. I don't have experience with them, but these green lenses I'll never fish another lens color. They're great. So that's it. Again, tight splice as the code. I think you save 15% in their website. That's it. If you go to fishing headquarters on the north end, be sure to tell Mike that I sent you. Mike, we need more people like Mike Krause out there. He's the man. He will help you in more ways than he'll help you more ways than you could think of. He wants you to have fun down here on Okeechobee. He wants you to have a good time. He wants you to catch fish. So he'll go out of his way to help you out. Tell him that you went there because you heard it from me. And if you have any other questions, shoot me a message, shoot me a text. If you want to book trips, my phone is ringing off the hook. People are starting to book for December through March right now. So if you have any dates, shoot me a text. I can see what dates I have available. And that's it. This one went a little longer than anticipated, but hopefully I didn't bore you guys to death. Any questions on the products, let me know. Oh, crap. I forgot one. This is going to be a quick one because I don't have it here in front of me. There's a product called a Ninja Grass Blade. Okay, a gentleman named Steve. I was at fishing headquarters. He walked up. He said, I'm going to stick something on your boat if you don't mind. Essentially, all it is basically a thick-bladed razor blade that sticks on the head of your trolling motor. So when you're going through the dollar pads, the hydrilla, the eelgrass, you guys know how easily that grass bogs your trolling motor prop down. You're stuck putting it in reverse, clearing it off, picking it up. The guy stuck this thing on my boat, and it has increased. Instead of pulling my trolling motor and clearing it 20 times a day, I'm down to like 3. It does a very good job at cutting the grass down. It's stuck on with like 3M tape. It's super easy. I had it. I didn't. Obviously, it's stuck on my trolling motor. I had the packaging, but I don't know where I did with it. His name is Steve, but I believe if you just Google Ninja Grass Blade, it'll pop up. Check that thing out. If you guys are coming down here to fish Lake Okeechobee, stick one of them on your boat. You'll be happy you did. And like I said, it's not going to interfere with anything else you're doing. So you can definitely check that out. So that's it. Other than that, that's it. So I'm going to go hang Christmas lights and wish I was sitting here talking about fishing stuff. But if you guys have any questions about trips, shoot me a text, give me a call, and I will see you guys on the next video. Later.